that suicide is painless. It brings on many changes, and I can take or leave it if I please. Yep. This is one ugly looking chart. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're looking at Bitcoin on the weekly. And we're looking at the chart you guys are most familiar with, which is the linear chart. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to use the log chart because it's a little better at giving you the perspective on what I'm going to be talking about here. So let's just get this oriented nicely. And Bitcoin, the price, has been bullish since, what is this here? September of 2015. And as you can see on the log chart, after that bear market that followed the whole Mt. Gox fiasco, yada, 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 came down, hit our bottom, bounced around, double negative, and then take off. Take off, take off, take off. We had our volatility inside of it, but notice how the trend never corrected. Even here, coming down real far, looking real scary, but then just the next week bought right back up and then boom, all the way up to 20 grand. Absolutely ridiculous. People went from rags to riches in this period. It's a really amazing thing to watch. Everyone's watching this correction here and going, this is different than everything we've seen since this bull market began. Every one of these little, we'll call them little retracements, whatever, these are all just for like little temporary anomalies inside of a longer term trend that effectively was between these two vertical lines. We'll do off just for reference here. Now we've created a new trend. Clearly a bear trend, a grizzly bear trend, where the end, at least as far as the log chart is concerned, it doesn't seem to be anywhere in sight. We can look at times where the price plateaued corresponding to the previous trend. So we'll draw something at 6,000, maybe another, maybe around the area of 4,000, even number, and then really anywhere point at 3,000, and maybe again at like 2,000. Now, any one of these points, given that it plateaued there on the previous trend, could just be a point where even if it's continuing down, even if it's going to continue being bearish and slam through all of these support levels, you might see just some pause at this point, or maybe a little bounce back. Now, let's get rid of these lines though, because they're just sort of purely speculative and not real constructive right now. It's also very scary about Bitcoin is the if you graph the trend of peaks as they correspond to the current trend, it's a very steep angle downward. So I mean, even if we, let's say, bounce off of this sort of double negatives kind of anomaly in that 6,600 range, if you look at the bottom here on the weekly, if we sort of capitulate up, maybe we can get back to say 7,500, but this is a very steep angle, and what's even more scary about it, is taking you in tighter, is the angle got steeper. You'd think if the main bear market trend was kind of set in this direction, corresponding to these peaks here, that we would have at least been able to hold, the $8,000 range throughout April and then head down. No, we're immediately getting pushed, and that's real scary because just taking it into the daily here to get you some more detail. I mean, below this bottom, that sort of corresponds to this sort of area here where it sort of found itself before going northward. Where's the next area? Down here, 5,000, top of this one. And, just for visual reference, 5,000 is not that ridiculous. Let's just say, and if any of you guys use TradingView, this is one of the most kind of fun things to do, is to do the bars. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying that's how it's going to happen, but it looks kind of aesthetic. It looks like it. Now, I know that sounds really dumb. This is blue collar crypto here. This is not PhD level market analysis. And as we speak, Bitcoin's back over 7 grand. So, let's for the heck of it, do a little more live coverage since we're live. Get off of this log chart, which is I think a little more useful for the long-term projections anyway. Let's get down to the 5-minute, ladies and gentlemen. See what's going on here. Alrighty, Roo. Well, just looking at Bitcoin on the more short term, let's take it to the 30-minute. Yeah, I mean, even if we're in a longer term bear trend, we hit a little double bottom. Now we're getting some movement upward. I wouldn't be surprised if over the next week we were temporarily bullish, moving back toward even 8,000. I mean, it would be pretty nice, but just here comes a speculative segment for you guys. Something in this general direction before kind of being suppressed by the longer term trend. I'll show you what I mean by that. We got to go to the 4-hour though. And got that thing going on. I mean, even if you take this like all the way up, you see what I mean? There's definitely pressure in that sort of neighborhood. And so, yeah. So, I mean, like, if you are in it, and last night, you were able to get some Bitcoin at like 6,700, I think that's a good buy. Hold on to that for a few days. But once you start seeing like the mid 7,000s, I would get out temporarily because I don't think this market has really found its bottom yet. I think there's still a lot of really nervous, scared people in cryptocurrency who maybe had the testicular fortitude to hold on through this crash, got their hopes up, saw this one down and thought, okay, it's going to double negative, but there's a lot more people that can be shaken out of this. So I am now going further into the future with Bitcoin. Yep. Now we're going to get to the long-term projections. You guys who are thinking a year ahead, let's say. Going back to our log chart. And let's just get rid of all lines and get some better perspective on it. This is Bitcoin all the way back in 2011 where it was $2.27. And as you can see, it has just flown out in the air. I draw that there for just like a little visual of what's going on. 2013 was certainly the year of Bitcoin, seeing the price go from just above $10 all the way to a peak of about 1,100 on the daily. Absolutely insane. Initial run up, hitting like 250 on the daily here, and then coming all the way back down to 64. So there are a lot of people in this market who think that in the next year, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general has another run up simply based on all the momentum that got in, took profit, and is now waiting to get back in, and all the people who didn't get involved. And the very hopeful people are thinking, why not see something like this, for example? I mean, and it won't happen exactly like this. It's just sort of to demonstrate the sentiment of what a lot of people in this market would like to see. And, whoa, that's not what I'm trying to do. And realistically, it might look more like this, or maybe getting up to like the 35 grand level. Remember, this is the log chart. But hey, I mean, I'm fine with Bitcoin being 100 grand in September. But honestly, guys, I think that this chart is a little too optimistic, and a more realistic projection would see Bitcoin coming down, but just kind of curving off. A better representation of that. Yeah. Something like that. It's kind of coming down to, dang it, I hate this thing. Okay, you guys get the idea. Coming down, sort of testing the bottom, maybe between like 4 grand and 5 grand, rolling around in that area, ultimately finding its double negative, something similar to this, maybe on a shorter timetable. And then perhaps as it gets underneath what seems to be the fundamental bull trend angle of the emerging technology that is Bitcoin, it may drift under it, only to reunite with it in 2023. Where Bitcoin will be $500,000, ladies and gentlemen. Or worldwide governments can shut it down completely. I doubt it. To end this video, I'm going to draw some speculative segments to dazzle your mind. Okay, I think that's pretty realistic what I just drew. And I think we might see something like that, you know, just kind of chilling out, everyone getting a little confidence back. It takes a little while, and then cryptocurrency emerges because it's like 3 years from now, and well, the shit works, and Bitcoin is. So long story short, guys, over the next 2 years, work your asses off, buy as much of the stuff as you can afford, and hold on to it and be set for life when it's all over. At least that's my plan. Wish me luck.